Hello, and welcome to the first lesson in the fourth fetter. Before we start, I just want to come with a warning. If you are straight out of LU, or if you have just seen through self, and you assume that the first three fetters, the foundational fetters, fetter 1, 2, and 3, they fall at the same time, and once you've seen through self, then you're ready to move on to the fourth fetter. If that is you, then I would like for you to stop this recording and start at the first lesson in the first fetter. I know that you might think, well, I don't need that. I've seen through self. There's no point in me going back. But it's not how this curriculum works. The first three fetters are what I call the foundational fetters. And there are so many things happening with you when you go through the curriculum in the first three fetters that needs to be in place for where we're at now. It's also that I'm using a lot of phrases, and I'm referencing to a lot of insights that I assume that you have had at this point. So if you have seen through self, I would recommend you to really use that advantage that you have, that you've seen through self. Start by the first lesson in the first fetter. You're not going back to anything since you've never seen it from that level before. And if I'm going through things which you already know, it's already, sorted, then you will be here very, very shortly. If not, and there are things that you need to look into, it could be like hooks into old trauma, it could be a specific way that you see the world, it could be any underlying belief that you have, which you have attachment to, which you're not sure, you don't know that you have this attachment. And if you then have this lesson now, first of all, you won't benefit from the lesson. And second of all, I will say things that might be very destabilizing to where you are. So make sure that you are at the first lesson in the fourth fetter, that you're ready to start with the fourth fetter. That is about wants, all the things we want in life, all the cravings, all the addictions, and all the things that we attach to wanting something else than what is right now. That is what this lesson is about. Another thing I would like to say is that you have probably heard, if you're doing fetters, that you have probably heard a lot of people saying that they are in the fourth fetter or the fifth fetter. And you have probably also heard a lot of people that has been here for a long time. That it seems like the fourth fetter and the fifth fetter are really, really complicated, difficult fetters because people are here for so long. It's not really my experience. My experience is that the first three fetters are the foundational fetters. And if you're not doing the work, if you're not going deep enough in the foundational fetters, you're just kicking the can. Which means that when you reach the fourth fetter, there are so many things that you need to look into, which is completely fine. It doesn't matter. The fetters are not linear. It's 10 different hooks that we have into an identification. So it's not that you're going back to the first fetter or going back to the second fetter or the third fetter. It's more that there are more in the identification that you need to deepen. There are some insights that are now ready to be looked at a deeper level than it was before. So if you are at the fourth fetter and you've been here for a long, long, long time, then expect that there's something underneath, there's something deeper that you haven't acknowledged yet. You need to look at it. There's something that needs your attention and your awareness. Whenever there's something that keeps coming up over and over and over, and we try all different ways, to suppress it or accept it, or it's always that there's something that we haven't acknowledged yet. There's something that needs our awareness, that's something that we need to acknowledge. And when we have completely acknowledged it, then we can accept it. And then you work with that, work with the acceptance of it. And the last stage is to understand. But the understanding is happening in a split second. So the acknowledgement is the most difficult one. It's the most difficult one because you need to see things as they are. And we rarely want things as they are. That's why we're here at the fourth. That is looking at all the things that you want. So your reality becomes different than what it is right now. You want the future to be different than what it is right now. If this happens, then I will be happy, you know. If this happens in the future, then everything will just fall into place. And the thing is that if you are here and you've been here for a long time, or if you have the feeling that you keep going back to the foundational fetters and working with them over and over and over, it's because that there's the ego, you know, the thinking voice, the voice that always tells you that you can be better and more, and you need to be different. I am not, I should be. It keeps having the focus on you needing to do something. And there's nothing you need to do. There's nothing you need to do. And when I say that, most people, they go, but how am I supposed to move forward if I'm not doing anything? And that's the whole point. The thing you're doing is that you inquire. You look into what is my experience right now? What is my thought right now? What are those thoughts telling me that I believe in? Like, if I get a better job, I can earn more money and I will be safer in the world. Those are just thoughts. Those are assumptions. It's just a thought, and you are the only one who thinks like that. You might point to 12 other people that think the same. Just means that you guys are thinking the same thing. It's not true. In your direct experience right now, you are safe. And that is what the fourth fetter is about. It's about looking at all the things you want for this to change. To have any benefit of the lesson here, it's really important that you are aware of what voice your ego is using. And you are aware of what your starting point is. Because the starting point is dictating everything. If you have a starting point in fear or anger or guilt and shame, then that is the underlying current under everything. And when we talk about wants, you will experience that the thing that you want is going to alleviate the pain and the suffering that you have with the underlying belief, with the fear, anger, guilt, and shame. So it's really looking into, really looking very, very closely into what it is you want, because it is an indication of what needs your attention and your awareness. If I want a glass of water, it's because I'm thirsty. So there's like an indication of what I want to what it is it's alleviating. But the majority of things that we want are things that we have created an idea about. That if I get more money or better education or a better boyfriend or another child or a bigger house or a better car or this cupcake, we have this idea that if that happens, then a future will happen. Then the most magnificent future will happen. And all of that is thoughts. The connection between the better education or the cupcake and earning more money and be more safe in life or being super content because you just had a cupcake, those are just assumptions. And we attach post-its that are not really attached in reality. And then we create this scenario. If I ask you to sit and dream about something that you really, really want, and we're going to do that shortly, then you will feel how it changed your entire mood. You will feel how you just get uplifted and happy, you know? This lesson is a bit different than the other lessons you have had. And it's because this lesson comes with 3 inquiries. There are 3 levels to look at when we work with wants. And first, I'm going to tell you the 2 pointers that, if you're really here in the 4th, when I tell you those 2 pointers, all the wants will fall away. It's that simple. It's that easy. If they don't fall away, it's because there's something underneath. There's something you need to deepen with. There's something that you need to look into. And to look into those, we have made 3 inquiries for you. And they're meeting you on the different levels that you can be where the issue is. So this is the lesson that you're going to watch over and over and over. And the inquiries that come along, you're going to hear them over and over and over until you're ready to move on to the next inquiry on the next level. Listen to it over and over and over until you can move into the last one and listen to the last level and listen to it over and over and over. And it's very much about you doing it to get a practical application of it. So you do the inquiry with a specific topic in mind, and then you self-guide. So you take the topic, you sit with the topic in your mind, put on the inquiry, and then you work with it. Pause underneath, in between if you need to. Go back in the inquiry if you need to. Otherwise, you sit with it over and over and over until it's released. That's one thing. The other thing you can do is, at the moment, Todd and I, we are having a Fetter's inquiry group every other week. And you can write to Todd so you can be added to the group. It's by donation, so everybody can participate. But it's only in a trial period. We're doing this from October 23 until February 24. So if you see this video outside of that period, then look into what we're doing right now. You know, what other things are we doing at the moment. But that is what is happening right now in 23, 24. Because the fetters is not, you can just use it when you're on the cushion. You know, use it for meditation. Use it for, take it to the lab and you only look at the thing while you're doing that, and you do that 4 times a day, and that's it. That's one way of doing it. The way that I support and encourage you to do it, it is to live it. It is to take every single insight you have had and incorporate it into your life. Because we can be ever so clever when we're sitting in a monastery or sitting in a cave somewhere. But living a life, you know, a householder life, as it's called in the Dharma. So you live a normal life and you have a partner and you have kids and you have work and you have colleagues and you have Janice and you have mother-in-laws and you have all of that. Practicing the fetters with that is amazing. That is when a real transformation will happen. Because it has to. It has to happen. You need to look into all the identification that you make. That gives you suffering and makes your life complicated with all those things. So I'm a warm supporter of living it. The lesson that you have here, where we look into wants, the 2 pointers that I'm going to give you shortly, use them with everything. Everything you want. Whether it's a cupcake or a new Tesla. Whatever it is, use these 2 pointers to really, really look into that craving you have, that attachment you have to getting it. And then use the inquiries to dissolve it. It's very easy, as I said, to let the 4th fetter fall. It's very, very easy. If you've done your work in the foundational fetters, you get the 2 pointers and you apply that in your life with everything you want. That's it. 4th fetter is fallen. The 5th fetter is the same. The reason why I'm separating the 4th fetter and the 5th fetter, because I know both Kevin and Christian, they work with them together. The reason I'm separating is that I would like to put an emphasis on that energy that you have in you when there's something you want. When there's something that you're craving. something that you truly believe that when I get this, everything is going to be amazing. And you can close your eyes and you can think of it, and you can just feel how the entire energy level is raising. You get happy, you get bubbly, you get full of expectations. And that energy is what we're addressing here in the fourth fetter. Normally, when we work with the fetters, if we work with Christian and Kevin's books and material, which is utterly amazing. I'm not saying anything about that. It's utterly amazing. It's just a different way to work with it, because they work with the fourth and the fifth together. So they look at whenever you want something, there's something you don't want. And they look into the don't want, which is the fifth fetter. We're also going to do that here. But as you already can feel when I say it, that want and that craving and that bubbly expectation that you have, that energy, is something completely different than all the things you don't want. Arguments you don't want. People that are crushing you in traffic that you don't want. Mother-in-law that is dictating how your kitchen cabinet should be, you don't want. That is a completely different energy. And the reason I'm addressing them separate is because I want you to get a proper picture of that want energy, that craving, because in that you also have all addictions. If you, when we talked in the third fetter, had issues, for example, about your diet, if there's issues about alcohol, sugar, anything like that, if you have cravings about a different body than the one that you have, if you have any kind of pain or diseases that you don't want, anything where you want something out of it, and you knew that in the third fetter, this fetter is going to put like spotlight on it. If you already now know that there's more to pick up, you need to deepen it, then I would recommend you to go back and do that now. Because the fourth fetter is so cool to work with when you're ripe, when you're ready for it. And it's also like, just like I don't want to spoil the ending of Sixth Sense, the movie. This is a bit the same. You're spoiling the ending if you're not ready for the fourth, before you're and seeing the lesson before you're ready. In a moment, I'm going to tell you the 2 pointers for the fourth fetter. And if you're ready, then when I tell you the pointers, when we do the exercise, because we're doing an exercise, and I will tell you the pointers while you're sitting with eyes closed and imagining. And when I tell you the pointers, you're going to go, oh, and that's it. That's it. Then it's sold in. Then you don't want anything anymore. Not like that. Not like the craving, not like the attachment and the very physical feeling that you can get to. Oh, I really, really want that. That will be gone. That will be done. That won't be there anymore. It's not meant that there are not things that you want anymore. And in the next lesson and the lesson after that, we're tweaking that a bit more, so you can see it, because there are lots of underlying things that come with it, which is only indications for you to go back to the foundational 3 fetters and work deeper. But let's get to it. I would like for you to get comfortable and make a deep breath. Close your eyes. And then I would like for you to imagine that if you had a magic wand and you could wish for anything at all, what would it be? It can be big or it can be small. It can be something far out in the future. It can be something right now. But allow yourself to go into that space where you really feel that want. You really, really want this. And as we did with the awakening exercise, allow the thought to grow bigger in your mind. So it's taking up all the space, So keep your eyes closed and take a deep breath and think of the thing you really, really want. You know that the thing that you really, really want is just a thought. And you know that attaching something so massively into a thought is delusional. You know that. The first pointer is you don't have a choice. You don't have the choice to choose what you want and get it. It's not possible for any mind to wish for anything other than what already is. You don't have a choice. You think that you can choose what you want. You can't. It's not up. It's not up for debate or discussion. That's not a choice. That's not a choice. That was the first thing. The second thing is, you don't need what you think you need, because you are already what you're trying to become. So whatever you think this want is going to give you, whatever you think will be improved or better or easier, you already are. It's already here. Right now, the fourth fetter has fallen. Make a deep breath. Open your eyes, and if you're sitting and going like, no, it's not, no, it's not, no, it's not. What do you mean? What do you mean? It's okay. It's okay. This lesson is exactly for that. If you have the sitting right now and laughing, and you are laughing and laughing and laughing, and you cannot stop laughing because it was so obvious. It was so obvious. You haven't got the choice. Of course you don't. And you are already what you want. Of course you are. If this moment is not missing anything and nothing needs to change, there's nothing for you to wish for. You already are. Remember that the picture I showed you with the pear that says, I am an apple, I wish I was a pear? That's it. That's it. That's the fourth fetter. You are already what you're wishing for. If you still sit with going like, but I still want an education, I still want a better boyfriend, I still want a cupcake, then stick around. Stick around. We're going to look into it. Before we move on, I just want to clarify that a want always holds a promise about the future. There's always something out there that is going to be better than this. So this will be improved when that happens. That's not how it is. That's not how it is. That is only an ego game. That is just thought. That is just you attaching a lot of things into a thought that is not real. But there are different types of wants. So we need to clarify what it is that we are actually talking about. So if I ask you to think of something that you want, let's say a cup of coffee. It's morning, you want a cup of coffee. I've talked about that in the third fetter before, so let's bring that one back in. So you want a cup of coffee when you wake up in the morning. I would like for you to look into where that comes from. Where does that want come from? Is it a conditioning? You've been taught that you drink a cup of coffee in the morning and that's what you do? Then you can try it out with exchanging the coffee for decaf. Then you still have a coffee. It's just a different coffee than what you're used to. If you go like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I need my caffeine. I need my caffeine in the morning. Then have a Red Bull. There's lots of caffeine in a Red Bull. And if you have, no, it's not like that. I have my ritual. I like my ritual with my coffee in my morning to wake me up before I go to work. Already there you can hear that there's something underneath, you know. You were not born with the need of a coffee. That has happened later on. And a lot of people are living their lives in a way that is not optimal for them. And the awakening will make you aware of that. You will become aware of all the things in your life that doesn't work, because those are hindrances for the awakening. You have attachment to a lot of things that you want and don't want, and that is the hindrance. So it's not your work or your partner or your amount of money in the account. It's nothing like that. That is the hindrance to the awakening. It's your attachment to it. It's your idea that things should be different than they are. And also that you, funnily enough, know what needs to change. As if you can tell the future. As if you can see into the future how that is going to change and improve anything in your life. Of course you can't. Of course you can't. So back to the morning coffee. If you have that, I can stay without a morning coffee. Good. Do that. Do that. And if you have, but I don't want to, look into that. If you have she shouldn't tell me if I should have a morning coffee or not. Look into that. No matter what argument or explanation you bring to the table, look at it. Look at it. Inquire about it. Where is the connection between the thought of a cup of coffee making your day bearable? Where is the connection between that? How can a cup of coffee make your life bearable? Is that a long-term plan you're doing here? And then finishing the day off with a bottle of red wine because you need to reward yourself for the day you have had? The attachment you have to the thoughts about your day, about your work, about your partner, about your life situation, the attachment to the thought of that is what is holding you back. It's not the work. It's not the boss. It's not Janice. It's not your mother-in-law. It's not where you live. It's not any of that is holding you back. It's the thought and the attachment you have to the thought. So look at the morning coffee. Were you conditioned to take a morning coffee? Are you living a life that you don't want to live? Look into that. I was asked the other day, I was at a meeting, I was asked, when you say look into that, what do you mean? What is it you want me to do? And it's a great question. And I'm sorry that I haven't made that clear before. It's looking into the thought that is dictating this as a truth. The thought that is telling you that if this happens, something good will happen in your life. Or telling you that if only Janice wasn't as Janice is, then your life would be amazing. We're back to identification with thought. And it's also why, if you hear yourself in this, if you have a thought that you feel, I'm really, really dedicated to this thought, I'm really, really attached to this thought, then go back and dive deeper into the first fetter. If you have that, I really can't deal with all these things, that I got on my plate right now. I need a glass of wine, or I need, to do something about it, or want to do something about it, to be able to deal with all this. Then it's more the second fetter that you need to look into. There's something underlying, an underlying belief that is shaping your feelings and your emotions, and you are attached to the feelings and emotions, what you think those feelings and emotions are really about. And obviously they're not. There's not a connection between any feeling you have and the now. Feeling is where you have a thought about a sensation in the body. So have a sensation in the body, you have a thought that you attach to that sensation in the body, that becomes a feeling. An emotion is just you repeating it. So if you have any feelings and emotions that you feel you're really, really attached to, go back to the second fetter. Dive deeper. Dive deeper. Go to Vince's group on Sundays. It's an amazing, foundational course, foundational group that is working with the foundation of it, of that identification, of that attachment. It's a great group. I have at the moment Q&A about the curriculum every other week, And Todd and I, we have the inquiry group every other week. So when I ask you to look into it, what I mean is look at the connection. You have a thought that is giving you a feeling. How is that thought and the feeling, the sensation in the body actually connected? Do you see they're connected in any way? And if you have that, no, I see, I understand, they're not connected. Then look into if you have understood it on a intellectual level, but not on a practical level. Because a lot of people understand the seeing through self on a intellectual level. And it's a bit like if you're out in the desert and you see a Fata Morgana, you see a mirage. First time you might think, it's an oasis, there's water, I'm gonna run over there. When you get to it, you see that it was just a mirage. There was nothing there. It was just a thought. There was nothing there. From now on, you don't run anymore. You don't run towards the Fata Morgana because you know it's not real. It's just a thought. That is the identification with thought, feelings, and emotions. That when you have really, really understood it, you're not running towards that mirage anymore because you know it's not there. You know it's just in your mind. It's your senses that are playing tricks on you. It just looks like it is not real. There are 3 different ways you can make inquiry. And we have made you 3 inquiries for this fetter and for the next fetter. So the 4th fetter about wants and the 5th fetter about don't want, ill will, anger, all that you don't want. We'll make you 3 inquiries that you can use because there are 3 different levels to look at it. The first level is the psychological level or the therapeutic level. That is what we're working with in the 2nd fetter. So it's very much about looking into underlying beliefs. It's very much looking into your starting point, even the toxic starting point, if you are the aggressive bully, the passive-aggressive bully, or if you are the chameleon. But it's also looking into that starting point that we have, that underlying belief that we believe I am this, the world is like that. That is the starting point, and that is shaping everything. Everything. If you have an underlying idea, starting point about fear, you will go out in the world and be in the world full of fear. You will strive to make yourself safe in lots of different ways all the time. So the starting point is shaping everything, and it's important for you to know what the starting point is and practice to work with a different starting point. And it's not working with, if you have a starting point in fear, it's not saying, I'm safe. That's the same thing. You need a completely different starting point. For example, have a starting point in, I'm content. That's something completely different. Absolutely completely different. So the first level, the psychological level, is helping you with the wants that you have if you're stuck in the foundational fetters, in the first 3 fetters. If you're stuck there, then the inquiry that you're going to hear in a second, that is the first one, that is for that, exactly for that. The second level that you can do inquiry about is about the non-dual level. And that is where you are aware that there's no separate self, that there are thoughts and there are sensations, and those 2 are not connected in any way. So it's where you look really, really closely to what is actually present, what is actually here. It's not what you think is here, it's what is actually here. So it's about looking into the thoughts that you have, questioning the thoughts that you have, placing yourself in the gap that is very, very uncomfortable. Let's say that at your work, Janice, she's always correcting the things that you're doing. And you're really, really tired of that. You don't want Janice to correct that. And then you have been told that you are up for a promotion, and if you get that promotion, you're going to a different office than the one Janice she's in. So you really, really want that. You really, really want that. Really, really want that promotion. If that is you, and you have done the psychological level, you've been through it over and over and over and over, then you're ready for the non-dual level. And what you do is that you do the inquiry, and then you have that feeling of want. You really, really want that promotion. So you believe that something outside of you is going to make your life better. Obviously, that's not possible. You believe that once you have the promotion, the Janice issue is not an issue anymore. Obviously, that is not the case either, since there's nothing wrong with Janice. Janice is Janice. You're the one with the issue. You go with you. So it doesn't help anything that you just get another office. And in the non-dual level, you are aware of that. You are aware of this is a delusion. This is a thought. I am deluding myself when I believe that things can be different, that the future can be different. The future holds something better than this. You're completely deluding yourself. You don't have the choice. You don't have that choice. And that is the non-dual level. You don't have the choice. So it's very much about doing an inquiry where you realize, I don't have the choice. I don't have the choice. I can wait for the promotion. I can be happy if I get it or not happy if I get it. But that believing that is going to change anything at all, that is a delusion. And you don't have the choice to wanting or wishing anything that then will happen, And the other thing was also about, in the non-dual level, is also the part that promotion is not going to change anything because you are already. That feeling of unsecurity or unsafety that you get when you're with Janice, that is only, again, a diversion. It's just a diversion. Underneath that, you already are. Janice is not supposed to be or do anything for you to be happy. She's just Janice. But we talk about that in the 5th. So if you're stuck in the non-dual level, then do the inquiry for that. And the last level is the awaken level. And I have already given you the awakening exercise, the one where you sit and you let want become, in this case, because we're working with want, you let it go bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you separate the thought from the sensory experience. And that is when you wake up to what reality actually is. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is that you're going to get ready. You have the thing that you want. You know what to think of when you're doing the exercise. And then I want you to sit with your eyes closed. There's not going to be anything on the screen. The screen is just going to be black, and it's going to be my voice. So you don't need to look at the screen at all. So you just sit with your eyes closed and you listen to the inquiry about the psychological level. If at the end of it you feel that you need to go back to the foundational fetters, do that. If you need to listen to it one more time and do it again, do that. If you need to listen to the entire lesson here until now, then do that. Do what is appropriate for you with the issue that you have. And if you think that, well, I don't have any issue in the psychological or therapeutic department at all, nothing at all, I can just skip it and go straight to the non-dual. You can't. There are things in the first inquiry that I would like for you to hear, but what you can do is that you just sit with your eyes closed. You have the wants that you want to work with. You listen through the psychological. I will do a very short briefing before we go on to the non-dual, and then you have the inquiry there. And then you sit with the 2 pointers that we talked about. You have the want, you have the 2 pointers, and you sit and you notice if there are any connection between thought and the wants that you have. And then it will fall. And if it hasn't fallen, then again, go back, listen to the inquiry again. You can listen to it over and over and over. Listen to this teaching again. If something has come up about the first 3 fetters, then you just go back, go deeper with what you need to pick up on there. Otherwise, you just move on to the last inquiry, which is about the awakening. And that is the awakening level. And you need to be in a space where you absolutely know that there's nothing but contentment. You need to be in a space where you have a want, there's something that you want, but you can let go of it right away and you feel contentment right away. Then it would be a good idea to do the awakening inquiry. So yeah, I think that's it. I'm ready if you are. So make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes. Make a deep breath. And then we begin. Take a few slow breaths and feel how the body is giving into gravity. Sinking into your seat, but still remaining awake and aware. Now bring to mind something that you feel you really want in life. This could be a big thing, like a new house, or a small thing, like a chocolate truffle. It might be a lifelong goal that has been driving your actions in pursuit of that for decades. It could be a new temporary urge. No matter what it is, a yacht or a bowl of ice cream. Do you see that underneath it, there is an inherent belief that when you get it, life will be better than it currently is? As you know by now, that is just the mind-driven ego game. It always holds a promise in the future. And the want you have right now, it's just the latest diversion. But it is one thing to know this intellectually, and it is another to inquire about it and look into all the underlying motivations for that diversion. So let's do that. Take a few moments thinking about this object of your desire. And get really specific about what you think will happen when you get this thing. Spend a few moments fantasizing about exactly how your life will improve when you have it. And don't stay vague, like, I'll finally be happy. Be specific and go big. What exactly will change? Do you want the house? So you will feel a sense of security? And does that sense of security seem to be lagging right now? Do you want the yacht? So you can host parties so you won't feel alone, as you might seem to be right now? I want you to be as honest with yourself as you can. What is it that you are experiencing right now that could be massively improved once what you really want happens? Notice how your mind almost seems to get uplifted when you think about what you want. Any sadness is exchanged with joy. Any restlessness is exchanged with calm. Any tension or resistance is vanished, and your mind is uplifted and in flow. Do you have that sense of an uplifted mind? Do you have a sense of what the want motivation is? Good. Let's continue. Now I want you to imagine that you have the thing you want. Whatever it is finally in your possession. It is yours. It is now a part of your life. How does that make you feel right now? What is the first thing that comes up? Feel into the body and really experience it like it is fully real right now. Let your mind imagine the most uplifting scenario. So taste the truffle, tour the house, drive the car. Be fully present in that experience. And then I want you to notice what feels different. I know that you feel that something has changed, but where do you feel it? Can you feel it in the body? In the mind? Do you feel lighter, happier, uplifted, less burdened, less lonely, more connected, less sad? Do you have more energy? After all, that is the goal of having a want and getting this thing. So notice, has something changed in a profound way in your mind? Notice that regardless of what was there to begin with, do you now feel uplifted and lighter? Does it almost seem like life has a future promised to it? Something bigger and better is in store for you? Do you feel motivated to go forward with your plans and your wants? Does it feel like that this want is the big one? This one, that once you have it, will end all suffering, end all future wants. Is the add-on to this want even that big that it might even leave you without ever wanting something again? Breathe. And now come back to the present moment, where you don't really have the house, the yacht, or the truffle. I want you to feel into the body right now. What has changed? Do you feel a slight disappointment? Is there something here that was gone when you were fantasizing about the future? If you really feel into it, is there an underlying feeling of unease, or maybe even discontentment with what is here right now? If that is the case, what feelings come up when you hear these words? This is as good as it is ever going to get. Nothing will ever change or improve from this very moment. Stay here. Is there pain here? Is there sadness? Are you uncomfortable in any way? Do you see that with the want you created a perceived reality, where in striving for an external pleasure, satisfaction, contentment and bliss, you removed yourself from what is present right now? Because the imaginary bliss feels so much better than reality, we tend to escape into our mind's paradise and get attached to the fictitious bliss. Fantasy is so much better than reality. But stay here a bit longer. Do you see that not a single amazing thing happening in reality will ever be able to compete with the fictitious bliss? The reason is that in reality, impermanence is a natural part of the enjoyment. Everything you get will be lost. Everything you feel will evaporate. Everything blissful will be exchanged with anguish. It is a part of life. But in our mind-created paradise, that never happens. And that is why we cling so fiercely to wants in the fourth fetter. So stay here in reality a bit longer with me, even though it might be unbearable, and you might even have parts of you that really refuse to be here. Do you contract and wince and fight against the possibility that this reality is the life that you're going to live forever? Do you feel a contraction with the thought, this is as good as it is ever going to get? nothing will ever change or improve from this very moment? Or does a part of you relax and expand at the recognition from some deeper knowing that this is actually the way things are, and it is absolutely okay? If that is the case, then stay there. We will pick up from here in a moment. If, however, you're still locked in a resisting contraction, just know that it's perfectly fine. Let's explore it deeper. I would like for you to feel all of the ickiness that is there. What exactly is it in this moment that absolutely need to change for you to be okay with being alive in the life that you have? I also want you to look into what cannot be here for you to accept that this is how life will always be. Take a deep breath. Keep your eyes closed. And in your mind's eye, look around you. Where are you? What is your age? Now feel into the body again. Ask yourself, what does this feeling or resistance or contraction resemble? Does it feel familiar? Like it's come up at certain points in your life? Does it have an emotional label that it is frequently paired with? Maybe fear, or shame, or guilt or anger. Flood all of your attention into the body, just as it is. What is the actual experience of sensation in the body? Don't allow any judgment or labels to stick onto the sensation. Just keep the sensation clear of all that. What is simply there right now? Did you notice that the contraction went away when you were fantasizing about all the wants? Did the contraction come right back when you returned to the present? Now I want you to go back into the mind's paradise where you have the object of your desire. But before you go, I really want you to take note of the contraction, of the feeling of unease that is here now, and then see if it fully goes away again when you imagine and fantasize about driving the car or throwing a huge party in your new house. So go into the mind paradise again. Go ahead and imagine you have won the lottery, or whatever your fantasy of wants is. If you really feel into your body, is the uncomfortable sensation actually fully gone? Or is it there some of the resistance or restlessness still bubbling away underneath the surface of your very happy distraction? This is a very important question for you. How are the sensations in the body connected with the wants or the cravings of the mind? Can you find a link at all? Does getting what we want influence these underlying beliefs about our current situation in any way? Does it do anything but just distract us from the underlying beliefs that they are always there? If you really want a Tesla, for example, be honest about what your motivation for getting that Tesla is. See if there are any threads about wanting to project an image of how environmentally friendly you are to your neighbors or family or friends. That thread can be a deflection from a deep and unfelt feeling of shame. Or see if the motivation comes from an undercurrent of fear, which has been externally projected as a fear of the world is on fire, and that you need to do everything possible to make it safe so that you can finally relax. Of course, it's great to drive a Tesla. It's great to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. None of that is in question. The issue is our motivation for doing what we do, even the right things we do. So do you notice that the cravings and the wants are there primarily to create a sense of distance from the underlying belief that you're not comfortable acknowledging is there? That promises that if you buy a Tesla, you will never have to feel that deep feeling of shame or fear that has been a part of the body for so long as you can remember. But here's the crux of the issue with all our fantasy wants. A want is nothing but a thought. A want is only a thought that promises that something will be different in an imagined future. However, that promise of what will be different is a very valuable clue as to what your underlying beliefs are and which diversions you're using to distract yourself with. It is a very clear indication to what your toxic starting point is and how you actually view yourself. So again, this is a time for honesty. What are you trying to escape from in your daily life? Do you have a sense of what part of you is being dismissed or rejected yet again? Can you hold space for that part? Can you acknowledge its presence and just stay with it? Don't attempt to change it. Can you be in a body that has space for all of the fear, anger, guilt, and shame that lies underneath the surface? Can you stay with it for as long as it is there? Create love and compassion to the person that needs to divert from life with fantasy and idolized daydreams. Breathe. Now, come back to your awareness in your body, no matter how uncomfortable it is to be here. See if you can stay here with what is in the moment right now. See if you can remove all wants and any idealized idea about how the future can be any better than right now. And just stay with what is here in this moment. Can you start to open up to the contentment in what is right now, no matter what is? Can you see it as a beautiful part of reality that is everything at the same time? So the joy can only be joy in comparison with sadness and loss. When we lock ourselves onto a one-dimensional future where everything becomes as we want, we tend to forget all of the useful experiences that we have just removed. Embrace the diversity of reality. Everything is present at the same time, which also means that all the fear, anger, guilt, and shame is here with a healthy counterpart intrinsically in it. So remind yourself that I am this too. As you see, it doesn't matter what it is. It is there. So you are it. And it is perfectly okay. The first thing we do is to accept all of our parts. Everything. Even the ones we have spent years denying and hiding underneath the floorboards. We only hid them because we did not have the capacity to see the benefit of getting in contact with fear, anger, guilt, and shame. We did not know how to manage and handle it. You do now. Doing the awakening curriculum, doing this inquiry, is a clear sign to you that you do have the capacity to face everything as it is. without adding or removing anything. Now that you have a sense of it, and see that you can sit with it and allow it to be there, I would like for you to go one step further than just accepting it. Can you also love it? There's a difference in accepting and enduring what is, and then fully embracing what is by loving what is. By loving what is, you allow reality to be as it is without holding any wish for it to change or to be any different. You know that exactly how it is how it is supposed to be for you to develop and attain your freedom in exactly this area, in exactly this manner. If it were any different, you would be missing an opportunity. So can you love reality as it is, with everything it displays right now? And can you go one step further and even say, I love you, to yourself? And hold yourself in your mind like you would hold your own baby. Breathe. Reality is right here, right now, for you as you. If it wasn't here as it is right now, you would never become aware of that part that has been dismissed and in need for attention for so long. So see if you can feel love and maybe even gratitude for reality as it is. The next step in the process would be to get some added perspective from the sensations. Just like we can easily see the exit of a maze when viewed from above, we can take this 5th floor view that you have right now to look down on the sensations without an emotional engagement, but simply observe what is going on. Note that we're not bypassing or distracting from them like we are when we were fantasizing about how much better something would be. Instead, we are staying right here in reality, viewing exactly what is here right now. We just look and experience without the hooks of identification and attachment. So sit a bit and feel the fear, the shame, and whatever else has been festering in you for so long. And then remove the labels. Remove the judgment and the pushback against it. Remove the attachment and the cravings towards it. Simply see reality for what it is. Note that raw sensation with a whole plethora of thoughts in the form of stories, judgment, resistance patterns, and so on. And then remain in this space of dispassionate, yet very loving acceptance for as long as it is needed for you. Make a deep breath. Get ready to get back to reality. Open your eyes and shake your body. Well done. We're now ready to move on to the non-dual level. And the non-dual level is where you absolutely with 100% certainty know that nothing needs to change and nothing needs to happen. Everything is exactly like it's supposed to be. It can't be anything else. If you have the feeling, yep, I know that, then you're ready to do this inquiry. If not, then go back to either listen to the inquiry again, or go back and go deeper with the material from the first to the third fetter. So the non-dual level is where you go deeper into the assumption of what is happening in the now, and looking at the thoughts and looking how seemingly the thoughts are shaping you. So let's do that. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. Take a moment and get comfortable. Settle in. Take a few deep breaths and fall into gravity. And get ready to look honestly and thoroughly into your assumed reality. Just like we did in the first inquiry, I would like for you to bring to mind something that you feel you want. It can be a small thing, like to go for a run, or a big thing, like changing your job. Do you still feel how life is going to be improved when you finally have whatever it is you want? What in your direct experience, sitting right here, right now, is giving you the feeling that something in your life is going to be improved, or can even be improved? How do you know that life actually will be better with this thing or event added to it? If you have been able to activate the feeling of contentment that is present in the moment, why does that insight go away and become replaced with the mind-created want? See where you are sitting right now in the present, without the object of your desire, and feel how you feel in and around the body. Take stock of your general mood. How does the body feel? Your feet, your bum, the back of your body, your jaw. Can you make a snapshot of your current state? Good. Now picture yourself in a very specific future moment when you are completely satisfied and fulfilled after having acquired the longed for thing. Again, take stock of what is currently being felt in the body and the mind, while still imagining that you have what you really, really want. And now see if you can find in your direct experience the link between these two states. So you have the state of dissatisfaction in your perception of reality right now, and at the same time the state of happiness and expansiveness in the projected future. How is it that you know that there will be any different experience when you get what you think you want? Can you find any way that this is known other than that it is a thought that was repeated over and over until it became a very solid belief every time you imagine your future with your want? Can you see into the future? Or is it all imagination about the future? Is that just a thought? Do you really know what is going to happen in the next minute or the next year? Do you feel confident in predicting winning lottery numbers? If not, that might be a clue to the limits of your predictive powers and how much trust you should place in your assumptions about how life will be for you some later date. So if you can't predict the future, how do you truly know that your fantasy about what will happen when you've got your want is true at all? Breathe. If you really look into it right now, do you see that all of your thoughts are like this? But for various reasons, some of them seem more believable or harder to question than others. Acknowledging is a good clue that you should be particularly suspicious about that type of thoughts. The more true and unquestionable those thoughts are, the more they should be questioned. There are some deep hooks into them, needing to be true, to keep you from having to question something about your worldview and at the core, your self-view. Now, instead of imagining the future and the implications on your life, we're going to move further and look into the belief itself. This can take a bit of a shift of perspective. If you feel like you're completely intertwined with the thoughts, then this can be quite difficult. That is also why this sort of inquiry is the most effective after having seen through the illusion of a separate thinking self, what we refer to as the first fetter. If you're not seen through the foundational fetters yet, I would recommend you to stop the inquiry right now and go back to the curriculum and the previous inquiry. The reason is that even with seeing through self, it can take a practice to pull yourself up from the maze that you're stuck in and gain that oversight you have from the fifth floor view, and from that non-judgmental place with curiosity, just observe the thoughts. Let's see if we can do that now together. Breathe and see if you can notice the thought with the same curious detachment as if it was a scene from a movie you're watching. To do this, it might help to take a few more deep breaths and allow any attachment to the experience to relax. It might feel a bit like an unhooking, or like you are shrugging off a cloak. But ultimately, it is a very gentle detaching from a thought that you will recognize when it happens, even though it normally feels different for everyone. Likewise, everyone is different regarding how thoughts show up for them. So you might see this belief of a better future as a visual image, or stream of visual images, or portraying the events yet to be seen. Or you might have auditory thoughts, hearing a discussion or maybe a monologue about the outcome of the acquisition. You might see it all written in text. Or you might have a combination of the three. Or maybe even something completely unique. How you think does not matter. What matters is your relationship to the thoughts and the detached curiosity you can use to approach the thoughts. So breathe deeply again. And now get back into the thoughts about how the thing you want will improve the future. Observe how the thoughts about your belief conclude that you know how the future can be improved. Looking into the conclusion that your situation will be able to improve in the future is the root of what your belief is about. Whether it's a new car, a new relationship, a baby, or a hot dog, there is an implication that something about your experience will be able to improve, and that this is the thing that has the power to make that happen. If I ask you, can anything ever improve? Notice the immediate onslaught of thoughts arguing that all the things in your life surely can be better than they are right now. But is that really true? In fact, at this moment, that is only a hypothetical belief. You could argue that you walk 10 miles back and forth to work every day. So a car would improve your life immensely. And on paper, that sounds perfectly reasonable. But we don't know if you will get the car and have an accident the first time you drive it and end up paralyzed for the rest of your life. I know this is an extreme example, but it is to point to the fact that we never, ever, ever know anything for certain. We do not know what the consequences will be of any action. But we enjoy the playground of the mind where we pick and choose and assume we can construct a perfect plan to get what we want. On top of that, we also construct a belief that this thing we want will for sure secure our utmost happiness and safety. And at the core of it, it will ensure our internal existence. But of course you know it's all nonsense. You see clearly that that is all just mind-created fantasies. And yet sometimes what we plan to do work out for a while. So we get cocky and convince ourselves that we actually can predict the future. But I would like for you to begin to notice how often your plans actually need to change. Or begin to notice how the plans sometimes get completely subverted by the tides of an unpredictable life. Breathe. Okay. Try to bring back the idea that something you want will be able to improve your life in the future. Now ask yourself, who exactly is it who is the one who is going to benefit in the future? Where is that you? Can you find that you right here? If you can't, isn't that you just another thought? Who exactly is the you who is going to be able to improve? If you have already seen through self, this might seem like an obvious question. But notice if there are still some subtle layers of impressions that seem to imply a timeline where some undefined things in some way is going to be benefiting from any of your current efforts. It's bizarre, isn't it? You know there's not a you, and yet there's a lingering belief that it matters that something needs to be in a certain way in the future, and that the non-you has any ability to shape that. It's really, really bizarre. If you're not seen through self yet, this is your call to look into your direct experience, to find what seems like a consistent, lasting, observing, acting self. For the purpose of this exercise, feel what feels like you right now. It might be somewhere in the body, or in your thoughts, or a combination of them. Pick your hand up and point to you. Where did you point? Feel into that spot and see what it feels like. Make a mental note of it. Now see if you can break it down into either specific felt sensations, or mental images, or other types of thoughts. Does it persist, or does it start to disperse a bit? Alright, let's go back to belief. Think about how much better your life can be with that particular want. If you hear the thought as an audible sentence, does it sound like you're talking to someone? We often say, I'm talking to myself. This is so common that is completely taken for granted and seems perfectly normal. But have you ever stopped to consider how perplexing that is? Who is talking, and to whom? If there's a part of you who knows that you will be better off in the future with this want, why does it need to convince itself? Who is it trying to persuade? Do you see the duality inherent in that sort of self-talk? Again, it's something everyone does, but that does not mean that it isn't a fruitful ground for exploration. When you're explaining to yourself why you really need to have this want so that your life really will improve in the future, try to find who is hearing and receiving the thoughts. And if you're explaining to me, just know that I can't hear you. But that might not stop you from trying to explain. So who is hearing? Who is listening? Okay. Remember how a few moments ago I asked you to make a mental note of what it feels like to be you. I would like for you to check in with that now. Is that feeling of what it is to be you still there? Did that feeling change at all? Does it feel like you still are exactly the same person you were a few moments ago? Where did you tune in to find that out? Does it feel like that self has moved in time at all? Does it feel like you are currently living in the future? Where's the person who first tuned in to the sense of self? Can you find them now? Did they die? Did they disappear? So what is going to happen to this feeling of self in another few minutes? Breathe. Let's return to the belief again. Do you know how you first created and bought into this thought that what you want will improve something in the future? Did someone tell it to you? Did you intentionally decide that you need to create a new thought that was going to be the driver for your life? Are there any remnants of its origin, like the cosmic radiation of the Big Bang? Can you sense any history of the belief? Does it appear fresh and new spontaneously every time it comes up? Or does it have hooks into something old and familiar? The next time you become aware of it, see if you notice any tendrils creeping back into some findable past. Or does it simply arise as a thought, popping newly into existence and winking back moments later? Did you create the thought? Did you choose when it popped out? Can you actually initiate a thought? Or do you only become aware of it after it has arisen? Can you ever predict when or what the next thought will be? Here's a very fun exercise to prove this point. I want you to breathe deeply and pay attention to the space where the thoughts tend to appear. Now watch and wait. Be very vigilant and observing. I want you to think of 3 movies. Did they pop to mind? Did you see how they were chosen? Did it feel like you chose them? You might have heard the names of the movie appear or saw clips from them. You might even have heard yourself choosing a title and deciding for some other reason to pick a better title. But did you recognize that none of that was you. The name simply appeared, and even all of the seeming back and forth and decision making was automatically happening. Let's try it again. This time, think of 3 book titles. Did you notice anything different that time? Did you notice any difference between the thinker and the thought? Did there seem to be some separation now? At this point, we have seen that beliefs are nothing but thoughts, and thoughts are spontaneously, impersonally arising creations of the subconscious, and that they are in no way reliable in terms of their connection to the seemingly real world. So now let's look at the feeling of wanting. Pick something else that sounds good to you. Maybe food, sex, checking social media, watching TV, whatever makes you feel like you could go for some of that right now. Then get a clear image of the thing you want and feel what is happening in the body at this moment. Did something change? Is there any tension, buzzing, or perhaps something like a magnetic pull? Where exactly is it appearing? Get as clear on this as possible. Does this tension feel uncomfortable? Does it seem like you're in a dynamic place that wants to change? If so, this is the gap. The gap is a place where, by definition, it is uncomfortable for you to be. However, if you find it so uncomfortable that you cannot stay with the sensations, but instead springboard right into some reaction, you should probably try a less charged want to investigate first, to see if you can sit with this discomfort for a bit. Do you need to do something to distract yourself and stop feeling it? Do you need to escape from the gap? Or can you bear it for a little longer? Good. Now let's look for any connection from the initial thought about the want you would like to have right now and these sensations that you are feeling in the body. In your actual experience, not in your thoughts, but your actual experience right now. Can you find a direct connection between the thoughts of wants and the sensations you are feeling in the body? Is there a physical thread or a link or a trigger or a switch or anything else that could connect these two things, the thought and the physical sensation, in your actual experience? Great. Now continue, sitting in the gap, feeling the sensation that seems to be pulling you to do something. If you notice that the body's moving or fidgeting or thoughts are arising, you have jumped over the gap and are now reacting. This is what we assume to be aversion or not wanting. But we are investigating wanting right now. So go back to the dynamically icky sensation. And just like we looked for a link between the first thought and this bodily sensation, now we're looking to see if there's any connection between this icky sensation and the need to have the cigarette or candy bar or whatever it is you wanted. Can you find again in the direct experience, not in the thought, if there's any reason to reach out for that wanted item? How would it in any way connect with or change this bodily sensation, other than it would just distract your attention away from feeling it? Really look for that connection, like you're looking for something you lost. Can you find anything? Not finding is key here. We do this exercise over and over with different cravings to realize that there's no reason that we absolutely need to have the wants just because a thought about it arises. While you're sitting in the gap, do you notice how diverting thoughts are in taking you out of the body? Do you lose touch with how it feels? Can you notice what the advantages are of going into thought and leaving the body multiple times throughout the day? This is how we are constantly bypassing the feelings in the body in order to keep from feeling those uncomfortable undercurrents that are constantly popping up and shaping your reactions and behaviors throughout your life. To see that there's no connection between thoughts and the necessity of action. Is the craving or want anything but another thought? Does that thought actually connect to anything at all in the world outside of your mental experience? We're almost done with this part, but not quite. That belief you have that you can and should improve or make your life better in the future, do you feel a sense of attachment to that belief? If I ask you to let go of your wants, to release the craving right now, do you feel a sense of resistance? What is that resistance like? Does it feel similar in some way to the icky sensation of sitting in the gap? If you find that there is an attachment to the thought of the want, just notice that it is serving a purpose for you, and that the reason why it is so difficult to let go of is because there is an assumption that it is there for your benefit. You have an assumption that without it, life is going out of control. So again, sit in the gap and ask yourself, can I be in a body where I release the belief that it is possible for me to improve my future? Can you just be with that without doing anything about it? Can you be in a body when the beliefs that you should be creating a more comfortable future for yourself are released? Can you be in a body where any thought about any wants are acknowledged to be completely baseless and untrue? Take a deep breath. Well done. We're about to finish, and I would like to recommend you to do this inquiry again and again before moving on to the next level. Take time in your everyday life to stop whenever you catch yourself in a want. Do this non-dual inquiry and look into if there's any connection from the thought about a future that can be improved and the bodily sensation that is being experienced right now. The more you practice inquiry in your everyday life, the more it will become an integrated part of you. The more you dismantle the content of a thought from your perceived reality, the more clearly will you see how things actually are. The more you look into how a want is just a diversion from what is, and nothing but a delusion of a fantasy future, the less potent the thought of a want will become. So I want you to take the last deep breath. Slowly open your eyes and shake your body. Well done. We're now ready to the last level, the awakened level, where we work with the assumption. And here, where you are right now, You are at the space where you're ready to let go of all hope, and you're ready to let go of all desire, all ambitions. You're ready to let go for all hope, desire, and ambitions regarding your children, regarding other people, regarding your pets, your job, world peace, climate crisis. You're ready to let go of all that. If you're not, please go back and listen to the inquiry for the non-dual again, or go back and listen and go deeper with the foundational fetters and do the work there. Take the question to your guide, take the questions to Vince's meeting, come to the inquiry group, and we talk about it there, and then we can do the inquiry and look deeper into it. But that is where I am assuming that you are right now. So it's also looking into the 2 pointers that I gave you. When I say that you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice in influencing anything that is improving anything for anyone. You don't have that choice. It's beyond the things you want to control. It's not possible to change any of that. So you don't have that choice. The other thing is that you already are. Whatever you previously thought that you would become if only, now you know that you already are. That there's nothing missing, there's nothing that needs to happen. Everything is exactly like it's supposed to be. If you hear any kind of nihilism in what I'm saying, then go back. There's a resistance to what I'm talking about. There's a but, and that is a resistance, which is completely fine. There's something that needs your awareness, there's something that needs your attention, something that needs your compassion and love, something you need to look at, something you need to be with. There's no need for you to rush. Why are you rushing? Where do you want to go? There's nowhere to go. So if you have the indication that there's something more to look at, then go deeper. Go deeper. And if you're ready, then I would like for you to get comfortable and let's do the last level. It's what I talked about with the awakening exercise, where you notice a thought and you notice the sensory experience and you separate the two. That is what we're going to do now. So make yourself comfortable. Close your eyes. As always, take a moment to settle in. Get comfortable and take a few deep breaths. Feel how the body is falling into gravity. And settle your awareness in the present moment. At this point, you might find that the wants that have seemed so all important have already dissolved. But this whole experience with the awakening curriculum, it is an invitation to awaken, as well as to work with beliefs and wants. So let's continue. Can you recall one of the stories around what you think will happen with one of your wants? So what you want is to earn a law degree. What immediately tells you how much better your life will be once you have it? Do you see how the moment that story arises, you have been swept out of the now into the thoughts, into an imaginary future? You're in some sort of limbo, existing neither fully in the present nor fully in the imagination. The body is here, but the mind is entirely distracted and distanced from life in this illusory time period. That was what we worked with in the previous 2 levels. So now let's build on those inquiries. So continue to hold the story about your fulfilled future. And while you're maintaining that vision, I want you to come back into the body to check in, to see how it feels now. in your direct experience, is there any connection at all between the body and the thing that you want? Is the body able to grasp the want or the event? Do the sensations that you're feeling know anything at all about the future or the object of your desire? What connection are you imagining that they have? And recognize that it must be imaginary if you can't find one. I would like for you now to separate the sensory experience in the body and hold it to one side, while keeping whatever thoughts you have to the other side. Can you now, in a manner of speaking, lift the thought story off the bodily sensations? If you found that there was no connection between them, then that should be fairly easy. You're simply keeping your attention on the sensations, while the stories, your assumptions about what will happen, are able to drift away like the short-lived, empty things that they really are. Now notice, do you feel like thought keeps pulling you back out of the sensation in the body and up into your head? Is there an inherent push-pull, keeping you in a state of tension where you can't just remain with the sensations in the rawest experience? Do you feel like there are labels about the sensations in the body that seems real in a way that transcends concepts? Sometimes we feel like we have gotten to an emotion that is bedrock and can't be questioned any further, like the feeling of fear about some undefined negative event that is going to happen in the future if we're not careful. If you're feeling a state that you label as fearful or excited or even blissful, can you tell what the corresponding emotion is without the mind pitching in thoughts about it, labeling it, and creating a whole narrative around it? Without the label, how can you tell that the sensations in your body are fearful or excited or anything else? Aren't they simply unnamed sensations that happen to be appearing in this moment? If you were an infant without any language, would you still instantly know what emotion you were experiencing? So if the mind needs to recognize and label a sensation for it to be understood and experienced as an emotion, are those two things, bodily sensations and thoughts, in any way directly connected? You might make up more thought stories about how one always seems to follow the other or vice versa. But where's the found connection? So now, holding the emotions separate from the sensations, can you still find the original want? Where did it go? We aren't just redefining the word. We're showing that the entire feeling of wanting something is only a mirage. The same way that a person dying of thirst in the desert will interpret shimmering heat lines as an oasis filled with water, we subconsciously take in the bodily sensations and the flow of thoughts and incorrectly misinterpret that information as feelings of wanting or not wanting, or even being a me, a self. The constituent parts are relatively real in their own ways, but they are being misinterpreted and believed to be something that they are simply not. So in your current experience, what does it mean to want something? Are you describing a discomfort in the body? A thought about how nice that crunchy apple might taste right now? A projection of how good you will feel when every person you know is envious of your promotion or new car or awakened state? When all this is the experience of wanting something. In all the dissection we've done, have you found it anywhere? When this experience is seen as a mirage and it starts to fall away, a sense of peaceful contentment often takes the place of the previous turbulent unease. Can you feel that contentment when the world is simply left to be the world just as it is? If the need to recenter or smooth out life drops away, all that is left is contentment with absolutely everything that arises. Why would it be otherwise? How can it be otherwise? Next, pay more attention to the felt experience. Does it seem that physical sensations are static and always the same? Like every time you get a migraine or feel anxious, do you assume that it is exactly like every other time you've had it? Now, place your awareness on the sensation as closely as possible right now. Do you notice that whichever sensations you're feeling in this moment, they keep changing and morphing from one pattern to another? They might get stronger or less intense. They might move and shift location. You might even notice that what once was taken as a static phenomena starts to feel more like clouds of effervescence and murmurations of starlings, or even smoke rolling in the air. Can you find anything called craving or wanting in those sensations? If you feel like there's something there, then strip off the verbal label and see what is actually being felt underneath it. Wanting and craving are only human-made labels. Again, with no thought, claiming to be the urge to have something we don't have, all we are left with is sensation that had no discernible connection to anything that resides in the imagination. So when you assume that every time you have a feeling of indignation about something you heard on the news or a stomach ache after a large meal, let the assumptions go and tune into your experience in a fresh way to see what is actually being experienced completely raw and unfiltered right now. When you disconnect the thoughts and assumptions about what is happening from your experience of what is happening, the sensations are free to come and go, expand and contract, and wink in and out of existence. And again, check in to see if that feeling of equanimous contentment has been revealed. While you observe sensations in the body, notice that there are no one moving in these sensations. Does it seem like you're doing anything? Are you making the sensations change in any way? Are they just moving and being witnessed? Now look closer. Are they being witnessed? Where in your experience can you find a witness witnessing? Does it seem like you are observing the sensations? If so, notice where it feels like you are looking from. If the sensations are in your belly, are you looking down at your belly from a higher vantage point? Often people feel like they're looking down from somewhere behind their eyes. If that is the case, what gives you the indication that you are in there observing? Close your eyes for a second if they're not closed. And then I would like for you to picture the sensations happening in your belly. Can your eyes actually see inside your belly? Clearly not. So isn't it just a mental image that is popping up, giving the impression that the sensations are being seen or felt from above? When your eyes are closed, all we are seeing are thoughts. Now tune into the sensations behind the eyes. Can you find an actual observer there? Can you find anything other than sensations like pressure or tightness or dull ache? Should you assume that any of those sensations are actually you? Or can you just let them be there without the added assumption, the misguided label that you reside there? Now open your eyes. Look down at your belly. Does it still feel like you are looking down from above? Is it possible to see your belly not from the vantage point of above, but like it is simply appearing before you? What is appearing in front of your eyes is always flatly appearing in front of you. There's no indication that the image is the right side up, upside down, crooked, or anything else. The brain is using proprioception and many other calculations based on very subtle senses to create the impression that you are looking down from above. But in reality, you're simply seeing. There's simply seeing happening. Something is appearing in your vision, and it has no perspective inherent in its appearance. If you find it difficult to make sense of it, it's perfectly fine. Don't force anything. Just make note of it and let go. It is a seed that might sprout at some unexpected point. Do you remember how I said that when your eyes are closed, all we see are thoughts? Well, when our eyes are open, these are still only thoughts. You cannot see anything outside of you. You're always seeing the brain's best guess as to what is outside of you based on all the electrical information coming from the sense organs. But what you experience is purely your own reality, shaped by your preconceptions, past history, and layer after layer of unquestioned assumptions. So peeling every thought away leaves you in a place where you can see your experience in the barest possible sense. There's no more real than anyone else's view because it is still structured by your brain, but without the mind adding even more noise to the signal. You can recognize some of the ways in which you might have been interacting with an emotional mirage. Again, don't take for granted that you are experiencing is something called wanting or craving. Remember to look in your direct experience to see if it can truly be found. What is it that we're instantly interpreting as craving? And can it have any bearing on our actions? What does it actually do? As you get up and move about your day, keep noticing that there are sensations which can easily be separated from the thought labels that seems to arrive with them. And as you stay with them, notice that the sensations move, but there's only movement happening. No one is moving with the sensations or causing the sensations to move. Experience is happening, but there's no observer or experiencer of the experience. If it feels like there is, then stop what you're doing and look for what in your body or mind right now, this moment, is being sensed and mistaken for an observer. Is it a physical sensation? A mental image? Something else? Is there anything but the sensory experience? Really allow the senses to overwhelm the feeling of being an observer. Let the colors and sounds and bodily sensations swell and drown the illusion that there must be something separate from them, that there must be a seer, a hearer, a thinker, a feeler, in order to experience all of this beauty. And it's okay to feel it as beauty. Just allowing the sense fields to be without creating an artificial distance from them can make all of the movements feel incredibly beautiful. You might feel rapturous or start to cry at the loveliness of everything. If crying happens, it's just crying happening. If bliss happens, it's just an emotional weather pattern moving through the body, experienced as bliss. And if nothing at all happens, it is nothing to get upset about or feel let down about. It doesn't mean that you are defective or not worthy or hopeless or any of the other thoughts that often arise from expectations and our ludicrous habits of comparing our experience to others. So whatever arises, it doesn't mean anything. It simply is. If nothing exciting or special arises, how wonderful is that? It is exactly the same and has the same valueless value as all of the peak experiences we hear about and long for. If you do find yourself resisting what is here right now or wanting something else, you have all the tools to use to come back to what is here right now. Discover what is making this moment so unsatisfying or even unbearable. What is making you discontent? And sit with it. Sit in the gap. And find out if you need to do anything right now, or if you can simply stay with the sensations as they arise and as they fall away. Take a deep breath. Well done. We're about to finish, and I would recommend you to take time in your everyday life to stop whenever you catch yourself in a want. Separate the thought from the body and notice how the thoughts drift away. See if you can live more of your life from this space of ever-present contentment. Contentment with whatever arises, regardless of how the moment shows itself. This contentment is not contingent or dependent upon anything. It can be there through injury or celebration, through pain or delight. Experience without labels allows everything to be deeply and profoundly okay. The more you practice inquiry in your everyday life, the more it will become an integrated part of you. The more you will dismantle the content of a thought from your perceived reality and bring your focus into the body and the movement of the senses, the more clearly you will see how things actually are. And as you continue living in this direct, content way of being, don't be surprised if life starts to take on a feeling of connectedness. Because as we have just started to explore, there's nothing separating you from experience. But we will go into that more deeply when we discuss the sixth fetter. So for now, take a deep breath. Open your eyes and shake your body. Well done. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you feel how important inquiry is, because inquiry is amazing at making this alive and useful in your life. the inquiries you have just done, you can implement that into your life. So every time you want something or you crave something, stop and ask the questions. Do I have a choice? What is it right now that I'm missing? So I'm not seeing that I already am. That whatever I'm striving for or really, really wanting, what is it that I think I will be that I'm not right now? I am right now. So what is it that I need to become aware of? So implement it into your life and live it. And if you hear any kind of nihilism or resignation, or for example, when I say that there's no ambition and there's no wants and there's no hopes, if you hear complete resignation and apathy, go back. Go back. It's not what I'm saying. On the contrary, what I'm saying is that you already are. And the space that you are in now is just contentment. It's just contentment. If you have any questions, feel free to come to the Q&A. All you have to do is be a member, and then the link is in there, in the members group. Ask me questions. I love questions, and I would love to talk to you about this. And if you want to do an inquiry, come to the inquiry group, and we do it together. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.